Hi and welcome to my channel, I'm Simon, and today I am back with my last video for 2022 and indeed the last book haul for the year. That does mean you're right, there are not going to be any November or December wrap-ups, but I will do, wrap-ups definitely going to be back in 2023. I know lots of you really like them and I really enjoy doing them, but once I'm out of the habit and if I have a not so great year, like this year was, then, I mean, it's been great in a lot of ways, but not so good in other ways. There's a looking back at 2022 video and looking forward to 2023 video that I did the other day that I'll link down below, which will give you more insight. If you also want me to do a plans for 2023 video, I could do sort of a resolution thing, but I was also thinking I could do one with my mum. So let me know if you fancy that. And speaking of my mother, at the end of this video, I'll be asking you something around prompts that me and my mum are going to do, but more on that later. That's a tease, a dangled carrot, if you will. Why do they call that a dangled carrot? I've never understood that expression. Anyway, so yeah, but they will be back next year and I will be doing a wrap up of the books that I haven't wrapped up in 2022 at some point, probably in January, although I'm trying not to overpromise things or give definite dates, things that may or may not happen, because moods and whims and things change with the wind and it's all about whims in 2023. But before we get to 2023, let's do the last haul of 2022. So, as always, I'm starting with some books that come from publishers, then I'm going to switch to some books that you lovely lot sent me off my wish list, which is always linked down below, well, only at this time of year, on my birthday, and then some of the books that I have bought myself this month. I know I'm not going to get any more, even though I may possibly walk past a certain bookshop that's doing a big hardback sale. I'm going to try to avoid, because I'm sort of having quite a big sort out of books, not in here, but in other rooms, and I shall say no more. If you approach one, you might find out. So, right, let's get cracking on books that have come in December. First up, I did not know this publisher even had me on their radar. It's Everyman's Pocket Classics, Stories of Books and Libraries, which is kind of perfect for myself as a big bibliophile, but also would be a great present for Christmas, I was thinking. It doesn't come out till January though, so maybe it's a great present for next Christmas. I mean, let's start talking about Christmas already for next year, shall we? No, let's not. I saw an Easter egg the other day. I was not impressed. It's too early. Anyway, this I think will be a real treat, and I don't know how many Everyman books I have read. There's something to ponder at another point. A book that I have had the proof of, I think, twice, and a finished hard copy of, and now have the paperback of, is Audrey Magee's The Colony. I always want to say The Connolly. I don't know quite why, but I do. It's one of those words that has that effect where you want to say it in a different way. Anyway, I've been meaning to read this pretty much all year because I just heard such a buzz about it and everyone was saying it was like one of their favourites for the Booker, and then I don't think it even made the shortlist, but people really loved it. And when I was flicking through this, I didn't realise it was kind of written in this sort of very almost like verse-like style, and that's really intrigued me all the more. Plus I love books set on islands, and I believe this is about two men who go to an island and try and change how it works, and I've enjoyed that in previous books I've read, but also I've seen a few books coming out in 2023 that sort of have that theme. And if I decide to do any theme reading vlogs next year, because I'm planning on doing reading vlogs a little bit differently, but more on that in due course, then this could be the sort of theme blog that I could do about people going to islands and sort of trying to change things. Anyway, I'm intrigued by it. Then, I don't know very much about this, but I saw the proofs on Instagram and was drawn to it. It's Mrs. S by Kay Patrick, and if you look on the side, it looks like a library book, like an old one, well, like a library book in an old house in my head. Does that make sense? If you go to Stately Home, you see them like this. Anyway, so basically it looks like an old book. This is set over one summer at a boarding school for girls where I think a queer romance happens and you follow on from there. I will say this looks quite gothic-y, so I don't know if that means that the romance is going to go through some difficult times or what, but I'm really intrigued by it and very much looking forward to getting to it, as I am from the lovely folk at Fourth Estate, who I think are going to be hitting it out of the park. You can tell I'm not down with kids or saying anything vaguely cool. But yeah, this sounds amazing. This is The Other Side of Mrs. Wood by Lucy Barker. And the cover looks quite similar to this, but I just love it. It's just really gothic. And on the back, it says, illusion is everything. Blow out the candles. The seance is about to begin. And I would really like to read a lot more gothic fiction next year. And not just in the autumn and winter, which tends to be the time that I tend to head to it, tend to. I would like to get to this, well, before it comes out, which is, it's an exclusive early proof. It comes out in June, so I've got plenty of time. I should have said when this is out. This is out in June as well. So 2 absolute corkers for June, but I'm probably going to read them a little bit in advance. A short story collection that I'm really excited for is Elsewhere by Yan G. I saw this doing the rounds on Fabe's Instagram as well and said very cheekily, could I have one? And they said yes. I've heard these are just really incredible, and I need to actually be held accountable to myself for short story reading, because I always say how much I love a good short story. How often do I pick them up? Not often enough. And this is one that I am really, really intrigued to head to. I don't think it's fantastical. I think it's quite based in reality. And I do tend to like more fantastical short stories, but I would like to try more. Fantastical, fabulous, whatever the term is. But I'd like to try more stories in reality, if you know what I mean, at some point. And that looks like a corker. I should say this is also out in June. It's going to be a good summer for books. Then the lovely folk at Picador have sent me Other Women by Emma Flint, who wrote Little Deaths, which was a crime novel I really, really, really enjoyed. This is out in February. Don't know much about it, don't want to, kind of want to go into it blind. That's also, I guess, one of the things, if you're new here and if you're long suffering and you've been here a while, you'll know, or you'll be learning if you're new, is that I don't like to know too much about a book going into it. I don't tend to read the blurbs that much. I just know that this is kind of, if it's anything like Emma Flint's previous book, it's just going to be a gripping sort of literary thriller that will just have me at hello and off I'll go. There, that's an interesting quote for a book. It'll have me at hello and off I go. That's free to you guys at Picador if you see this. Then we have Jay Carmichael's Marlo. This is really interesting because I read Jay Carmichael's book Ironbark. Was it this year or was it last year? I think it was last year, which was his debut. That hasn't come out here. He's an Australian author, and this is the one they're bringing out first. And it says a stunning Australian love story for readers of Brokeback Mountain, and it's set in conservative 1950s Australia. I'm already intrigued. I love Australian fiction. I want to get to more Australian fiction, and I've just seen, I think this has got a picture in it. It has. There you go. That sets the scene, I think, as you're reading along. That's really interesting. Oh, there's more. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Oh, look at that. That's hilarious. That's just really, really, really tickled me. So really, really looking forward to this one. Don't know when that's out. I think that's quite soon. I've been very kindly sent an advance copy of Dr. No, which is Percival Everett's new novel coming out here in March. And I feel a bit like, I really enjoyed The Trees. And then when I did the video with Mum, I feel like I accidentally gave it a bit of a, well, I was quite hard on it. And I think it's because there's just something where people write about fat people and it's derogatory and it really gets on my nerves, and it was done so continuously but also without ever really bothering to change the word that I just felt a bit annoyed by it, even though the rest of the book was so powerful, important, funny, dark, propulsive, all those things. So I really want to read more of his work. I just feel a bit bad that because that bothered me so much, it wasn't even like, ironically, the biggest thing in the book that like, it's not what I came away remembering the most, but I think I was so close to reading when I did that video with my mum. I was just, yeah, too close. So yeah, anyway, I'm looking forward to this. I also love sharks, and it has a shark on the cover. Then one of the, I was going to say, what's the term for an author's second novel apart from second novel? But one of the second novels by an author I've loved their first book of that I'm most excited for this year, wow, that's niche, isn't it? Is The Happy Couple by Natasha Dolan. I really, really, really enjoyed Exciting Times. I thought it was fab, and I'm really, really keen to see what this one's about. On the back it says, loneliness wasn't having no one. Loneliness was the gap between what you hoped for and what you got. And I just think this is going to have me. Hello, where has that suddenly become an expression that I use? Well, apparently I do. Then, and this goes into the same category of a second novel I'm most excited about in 2023 from an author whose debut I loved. It's This Family by Kate Sawyer, who wrote The Stranding. which was a book quite unlike anything I've ever read. And just, I couldn't stop reading. I just really loved it. And it really tests like what your level of believability is, but delivers massively, even though at first I was a bit like, I'm not sure. Anyway, this, I believe, is about a family. So quite different, even though family issues were at the heart, I guess, of The Stranding. It's an apocalyptic book, so it kind of, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but if you've not read it, read it. But yeah, I don't know, I think this is set much more in sort of reality, and now I shall see when I read it. They also very kindly sent me a copy for my mum as well, because my mum met Kate at an event I did with Fee Glover and Jane Garvey last year, and this year even, and that feels like a long time ago. January does feel like a really long time ago. Well, it isn't a year away. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. That very excited for that one. As I am this debut, I think it's a debut, and it's, I believe, a short story collection. It's Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Fowley, and this sounds like fantastical, fabulous short stories, and this is the sort of thing that as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, I need to get to that, and I want to read it really, really soon. This is out in April, and I probably will read this quite soon. Kieran Maud Hargrave, who I adore, has raved about this, and so that always adds an extra like element of not desperation to read it, but like that propulsion to read it. Oh, I've said propulsion twice as well. Then a book that the publishers again very kindly sent a copy of me. Where are my words? It's the end of the year. Speaking of which, if I forget to do a list of the books mentioned in this video, I'm really sorry. I should have said that at the beginning. I should have done a little bit of housekeeping. I will try to remember, but I'm also trying to like really zone out before New Year because I'm feeling out of nowhere absolutely shattered. Anyway, this is from the lovely folk at Scribe, and they very kindly sent me 2 copies, one for me and one for my mum, and it's No Season But the Summer by Matilda Leyser, and it's out in April, and it's about Persephone and Demeter, and that is probably one of my favourite myths because we used to have a picture book of Persephone and Demeter that my mum would read to me a lot when I was a kid, and it really stayed with me. So very excited for this one, but also slightly aware that I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on it because it is one of my favourite myths. There's more myths are coming, but before that we have 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Augustina Bazterrica, and it's translated by Sarah Moses, and it's going to look like that. I do wish with publishers they would do like as close to a finished version as possible for a proof, because I don't think you will associate this, me holding this up, with that when it does come out in May. That's just me. Anyway, it's from Pushkin, and it's a follow-up to, what was the book about? Oh, Tender as the Flesh? Yes, which I haven't read and really want to. It's about cannibalism, and I think it's quite gory. This is fantastical, quite dark, twisty short stories. Very excited for, very ready for. Then some non-fiction, and this, I'm really glad I've been sent this because I might not pick it up otherwise, but I think it probably is going to be quite me. And it's Natasha Carthew's A Cornish Memoir of Poverty, Nature and Resilience, Undercurrent. And that really intrigues me. I don't think we hear about poverty from a rural aspect anywhere near as much as we hear about it from a cityscape, and I think this will do that. So really excited for this one, and I'm hoping it's going to be like, also I'm hoping it's quite full of nature writing, so I'm hoping that will be like, I was trying to think of that memoir that I read ages ago that I really loved, that was quite dark and was set on, let's move on because my brain just won't compute. And then next up we have Paul Harding's This Other Eden, which the folk at Hutchinson and Heinemann had been looking at reviews of previous books, and when I was blogging way back, I'd read Tinkers and really enjoyed it, and so they're like, oh, would you like to try his latest novel? And I was like, yeah, I would. I love that apple on the cover. Apples are one of my favourite fruits. I think my favourites are pineapple, apple. We'll keep thinking on that one. Then this I'm so excited for, and it came in this fabulous, I love how they've done this, so it's got its own sort of like wraparound cover, and it is The Housekeepers, and it is by Alex Hay. Sorry, I should show that. And it's your house, but it's their rules. And this to me has a feeling of sort of Danversness about it. I'm going to read this very soon, even though it's not out until... Hold the line, caller. It's out in July, but I really, really, really want to get to this. And I want a Zigga Ziggar. This, yeah, I've had a real Downton Abbey fix recently. I don't know why it happened, but I've watched series 1 and liked it and never watched it again. I think it's because the adverts were too long on ITV and it just broke it up too much. But I've been watching it on Netflix and absolutely devouring it. Speaking of which, if you've not seen the movie of Mothering Sunday, you must, but read the book first because it's absolutely amazing, by Graham Swift. Anyway, that was a tangent again, but I'm really enjoying that sort of upstairs downstairs thing and big old houses, and this is going to have all of that and I'm so excited for it, like ridiculously. And speaking of these amazing covers, this arrived, and this is Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. Now I feel really bad because I've not read Ariadne, and I've not read, what was the other one that she wrote? She wrote Ariadne, which Mum read. I think Mum either saw her talking recently or read the book recently and absolutely loved it. This is out in April. Electra, that's the other one. So yeah, I would like to get to this one soon. I like that dog. I'm here for it. And I just thought, oh, there's quite a lot of quotes there. I'm going to be reading a good book by all accounts. I do like the way they've done this around some of the book. Oh, and that's lovely on the back too. Then we have The Heroines, which is another classical retelling by Laura Shepperson, and this is out in February, and this is a retelling of the myth of Phaedra. And I'm hoping next year me and Mum might go and see a couple of myth retellings on stage, because Phaedra is one of them, with the actress who I love, who was in... This shows you where my brain is at. The actress who was in that show that I really love on Netflix, which has got Laura Linney in it, but I can't remember the name of. It's about a family who get into money laundering. That. Anyway, she was in it. She's in that. And the other one I really want to go and see is Medea with Sophie Okonedo, and I think that's going to be incredible. And I think Medea might be the next myth retelling that Natalie Haynes is working on. Anyway, this is The Heroines. It's about Phaedra. That made me think of Phaedra. So there we go. I'm going to pop those down on another pile so they don't fall over. Then I have, I think I might have shown this before, but when it was the proof before this proof, a very early proof. This is Carla by Colin Walsh. And this is all about a group of friends who, when they were young, Carla disappeared. No one knows what's happened to her. However, a body's been found. They all come back to, I think it's a small town in Ireland, and then 2 young girls go missing. And so we follow on from there. And it just sounds quite incredible. And I think it's told in kind of alternating people's perspectives, which I really, really, really enjoy. So we have Carla. Then we have, now I'm not sure about this because the cover bothers me. It makes me feel uncomfortable because it's about circuses, and I really struggle with books about circuses. There's just something about circuses I find incredibly sinister. I'm not scared of clowns, but anyway, the reason I'm thinking I'm going to give Killing Jericho a go is it is a new, I think first in a series of thrillers by William Hussey, who wrote Hideous Beauty and the Outrage, which were queer YA novels, and I haven't got around to those, but I thought, oh, I would like to support more queer authors next year. And so yeah, this is one of the reasons that I'm going to head to this, because I do have to say it doesn't make me want to read it, but it also makes me feel really uncomfortable. But ultimately, I'm very excited for this. This is A Dangerous Business by Jane Smiley. It's a Western with, I think, women at the forefront, and I have been meaning, I've got a couple of books that are Westerns with women at the forefront that I've meant to read ever since I read What Is Wrong With Me and My Brain? How Much of These Hills Is Gold? By Sipam Zhang. Anyway, that I loved so much, and I have been meaning to read more, and this is one such book, I think, and it's quite short and sharp, and I think I'm going to really, really enjoy it, so I'm very, very excited for this one. And the last from publishers before I stop, grab the other books and start again is The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis, and I'm going to be reading this before I interview Bret Easton Ellis in February. I have read American Psycho, and I really loved it and loathed it all in one, which I think is the whole point of the book, because it does go to serious extremes, and we are back on serial killer territory here. However, I think it's set around a group of friends at college, and some people have been calling this the new secret history, and yeah, I'm very, very, very intrigued. Also, I find him quite a fascinating character as a person. So there we go. There's that. Very, very excited for it. Now I shall stop and go and go for the other books, and then I'll be back. Did you miss me? I was gone for so long. So before I get onto books that I bought myself, I'm going to talk about 4 books that some of you lovely lot got me off my wish list. And the first one is from the lovely Tracy Douglas Keegan, and it is Holly McCauley Brown's Places I've Taken My Body essays, and this is about chronic illness. Now, I have a chronic illness called Derkham's. It's a really, really rare chronic illness, and it's something that I don't massively talk about, and I don't like to let define me, but also feel like sometimes I should talk about it a little bit more, and also should stop hiding away from books about chronic illness because I find them mildly triggering, because actually they could be really, really helpful, and I've heard this is amazing and I love this edition. So there's that one. Then the next one didn't come with a note, so I don't know who it's from, but thank you very much. And it's one of the authors that I read and really loved from my short story advent calendar, which I mentioned in my honourable mentions video, which I'll link down below. It's The Prince of Mournful Thoughts and Other Stories by Caroline Kim, and I loved her short stories, so I was like, ooh, I'd like to find more. And then there's this one. I should say, with the books on my wish list, they are from a technically evil website. However, I only, as you'll see, pick books that are unavailable to me from independent bookshops here, so they're all basically books from like America, Australia, Canada, etc. So that is my rule and I stick to it. I heard amazing things about this from Mercedes, and the lovely Lynn sent me it. It's The Arsonist City by Hala Alyan, and Mercedes just raved about it. And it's interesting because some of the books that Mercedes loves I really, really love, and then sometimes we have quite different tastes, but I think I'm going to absolutely love this one. And last but not least, before on to books that I bought myself, this from the lovely Cindy arrived, and it's Dinosaurs, a Novel by Lydia Millett. I also saw a children's Bible, which I think I've put on that wishlist. It's linked down below, I should say, but no pressure, just like there's no pressure to be a Patreon or anything like that, but they're always linked down below just in case, as are my Instagram and other social media outlets if you'd like to go and see them. Anyway, yeah, I'm really, really keen to read this author, and a children's Bible I have my own, but there's something about the title Dinosaurs I really, really love, so I'm intrigued, so thank you very much for that, Cindy. And thanks to me for all of these. Now, first up, I don't know if I was going to say these are boring books to share, but I love reading them. I am planning on doing some travelling next year around Europe as a finger up to Brexit, because I'm gutted that we're not part of the European Union anymore. And 2 places that are high on my list to go to are Berlin and Copenhagen. So I've got these because I might randomly go to one of them in January and then possibly the other one in February or March. I'd quite like to go to a different place for like 3 or 4 days every month throughout next year as a treat for multiple jobs that I worked on this year and squirreling away. So yeah, I'm really, really keen to go. Also, I think if I can find bookish elements, I'd like to do some vlogs with a travel-y booky theme as well next year. So that's part of that. Another one for Berlin. I never know which are the better books to get. Is it Lonely Planet's pocket ones, or is it your Eyewitness top 10s? Because that top 10 might be very different to my top 10. And that's why I quite like to read around it. And I think one thing I'm going to do is, I'm not going to say where I'm going travelling, because what I want to do is go and discover where I want to go, and then possibly ask for recommendations nearer the time, or maybe not at all, because I just want to go and get lost and wander. I used to be a travel journalist and get to go to lots of different places, and one of my favourite things was they give you an itinerary, but sometimes it would be the moments between the itinerary things you had on where you just kind of wandered the streets and had a lovely time, where you'd find things that you just didn't expect. Anyway, on to books that I bought myself that aren't travel-based. I filmed with the lovely Jordan of West Kirby Bookshop for Sky Arts Book Club Extra, which is a weekly video that I do over on Sky Arts Book Club's Facebook group. That's always linked down below if you want to hear more. And it was Jordan recommending some books from the bookshop and me going through the shelves and recommending some books too. Of course, I bought books while I was there. The first of which was Tied Up in Tinsel by Guillaume Marsh, which I swore I was going to read this Christmas, and I haven't. So will be saved for next Christmas. I think I peaked too soon on Christmas. I was so ready for Christmas at the end of November and just like ready for like, I knew I was having time off and I knew that, you know, the new year was coming. And I sort of, yeah, I had this peak of getting the tree and decorating it before November was done. And then also lots of other things have been going on with stuff that I'll be able to say more about next year with hopefully some new exciting projects I'm going to be working on. And I sort of just lost it and then got it back just in time for Christmas. And now, I don't know, it's odd. Anyway, I also got Haunted Houses by Lynn Tillman. I'm laughing because I realised I already owned it. However, I have a special edition version of it. So this one I can read, pass on to someone else and keep the special edition for me. I read Weird Fucks earlier this year by Lynn Tillman and I enjoyed it. I didn't quite always get it and it has faded in my memory, but I did really enjoy the writing. And this is about sisters, which always intrigues me. I think it's sisters. No, it's 3 young women friends, sorry. One of who, this was one of the things that got me into it. Grace believes her dolls come alive at night and talk against her. I was like, hello, I need to read that book. Also really love the title. So there we go, even though I already had it. Did I buy another one from there that's a different size, so I put it somewhere else? Possibly, if we get to it. I feel like I bought, oh, I know what it was. I bought a Christmas present for someone else from there. Anyway, then I told you that I was having a Downton Abbey time, and I've heard rumour The Shooting Party by Isabel Colgate, who's an author that I heard about through Sarah Winman on her Instagram, and bought another book by The Blackmailer, which I talked about in my last haul, I think. Anyway, this is said to be what Downton Abbey was based on, or what inspired it. And so that really, really intrigued me. And I'm looking forward to heading to more modern classics next year. That's a big thing that I want to be getting to. I don't need to have any more Elif Shafak books on my shelves because I think I have 4? Yeah, 4 already. But why not one more, frankly? And so I got The Flea Palace by Elif Shafak. I was going to say that again then. Well, I did, but you know what I mean. Anyway, moving on. The reason that this one appealed to me so much was that when I already have 4 on my shelves, is I really love books set in like apartment blocks. And this is such a book. And I think it's an apartment block in Istanbul. Yeah, Bon Bon Palace. I mean, it just sounds amazing. And so I think my next Elif Shafak will probably be this. It's a bit of a chunkster. I really love the idea of getting lost in Istanbul through Elif's eyes, because I just know she'll write about it beautifully and hauntingly, but also look at the problems that it has and the way it treats different people in society and the cultural mores and all those things. But yeah, I think this is going to be corking storytelling in an apartment block, which is just sort of my sort of dreamy book. And I want to get back to the sort of books that I know are Simon Catnip in the next year. And I also picked up Isabel Strout's Amy and Isabel. I didn't discover Isabel Strout this year. I discovered Elizabeth Strout. I spent most of the year calling her Lucy Barton because the Lucy Barton books are so vivid and Lucy as a character is so strong, and the conversations you feel like you've had with her. So you feel like when you've read those books that you've literally had a conversation with Lucy. You forget there's an author behind it. And so I want to read more of her work. And this was her first book. And so I'm going back to the beginning of Strout's work. Short stories again. I have seen this book in like bookshops throughout the year and always almost picked it up, and I was like, oh, stuff it, just get it. And so I did. It's Objects of Desire by Claire Sestanovich, and I don't know, there's something about the cover. It's bright, it's bold. I flicked through, it looked good, there were some really good quotes, but it's one of those books that I saw, like I said, earlier this year, and it's just been in the back of my mind continuously. And I need to do that more with books. I need to let them sit with me. Like it's taken me quite a while to decide which Elizabeth Strout to get next, but also I've had a bit of a break before buying any more books from her since I've read her, and that's something that I need to see more. I need to buy more conscientiously in 2023. I saw Kobe over on Instagram talk about this book, and he wrote about it so brilliantly, and I hadn't heard anything about it, and he is very, what's the word, he doesn't give out praise often, so when he does, it's like really cool. And that's something else I would like to do more next year. I think I need to be more like why I really love something, why I didn't really love something, less in the, I don't know. I'm overthinking and comparing myself to the people, which is never a good idea. Anyway, what's the blinking book, Simon, that we raved about? It is Red Island House by Andrea Lee. And I can't remember, and this is what happens sometimes, because as I mentioned, I don't like to know too much before going in. I'll see someone rave about a book, I'll note it in my brain, and then when I see it, buy it, probably having forgotten what it was about or why I should read it other than the fact that they raved about it. That's the case with this. So I'll tell you more about it once I have read it. And the lovely Tamor Sumro, who I filmed something with for Sky Arts Book Club Extra, which hasn't gone out yet, he gave me four recommendations of books that I should read, and I'm going to start doing those videos next year. So I've already got Minnie Driver, who's given me some recommendations, Hani Yanagihara, I have Tamor, and I have Anton Her. And Tamor recommended this, A Case of Exploding Mangoes by Mohammed Hanif. And I did a video where I was talking about what it was like for him to be a debut author, but also could he share some of his favourite debuts, and this was one of them, and it sounds amazing. It's based on a true incident that happened. I don't know if it was an assassination exactly or whether it was just like an accidental horrific moment. There are lots of rumours about it, and it's also got queer elements to it, so yeah, that just sounded great to me. Now, I bought this when I was in London, when honestly, throughout December, I've barely been able to pick up a book. And when I have, I'll put it down. I've just been super wimmy. It's been an odd time. I think it's just the end of a bonkers year. And maybe I'm thinking from next year, I stop filming, apart from maybe like vlogs like I've been doing on my Patreon, which I've really enjoyed, which is much more chatty and still involve like going to bookshops and sorting my books out and what book post I get and other stuff. But I think also about the excitement of Christmas and what I get up to on that front. I might just do those on my channel next year and not actually read anything and just sort of it be the end of the year sort of, so that I have a little breather, but still keep making content. Anyway, that was a very long way of me saying that when I was in London, I couldn't pick. I'd taken 2 books with me, neither of them were working for me, so I went to South Kensington Bookshop and picked up A Marvellous Light, which I've heard amazing things about, by Freya Marske. And it's something quite different from me, which I think is what drew me to it. I heard also it's a queer, slightly salacious, smutty romance, but it's set like in an alternate history with speculative elements, and that really intrigued me. And it's part of a trilogy, which again would normally put me off, but I'm intrigued for it. So this may well be an early read in 2023. A book I will be starting at the very beginning of 2023 because I loved doing this with another book or its predecessor this year, is Another Year of Wonder by Clemency Burton Hill. And I loved Year of Wonder. Well, I still am loving it. I've got a couple more days of it to go. And the idea behind this is every day you get an introduction to a piece of classical music that you can then go and listen to. And there are playlists on Spotify and I think other providers. I'm a Spotify gal. And yeah, so you get these introductions and then you go listen. And the introductions that Clemency does are just so fantastic because she's so knowledgeable and she loves so many different like oeuvres, or is it genres of classical music? Anyway, those. But it's never patronising. It's always really relatable. And I just think she is a legend. And I'm very, very, very excited for this and starting it. And I think I might even do Year of Wonder again. So there's that. A book I've seen doing the rounds on Instagram and just really, really intrigued me is, now I can't really read it. I think it's Strega by Joanne Holm. And this is all about a young girl who works at a hotel, and it's set over, I think, like a couple of days. And yeah, this is what my brain is dread button too. When I hear about a book, I take the bits I want from it that sit with me and I go, oh, I think I really, really want to read that. And I read The Maid by Nita Prose earlier this year and really enjoyed that, about a maid at a hotel. And I would like to do more. Plus, this is out from Lolly Editions, whose books that I've read from so far, I've really, really enjoyed. They're a small indie press. They tend to, I think, always do books in translation. And yeah, that was my reasoning for getting this. I thought I was going to read it in Betwixtmas, which we are in now, but I just haven't had the oomph. So again, this could be a contender for a book that I read early in 2023. Anton Herr, as I mentioned, has recommended me some books. I had quite a few of them already. I did not have All the Lovers in the Night, by Miko Kawakami. Now, this surprised me that I ended up picking this up, apart from the fact that Anton recommended it, and I kind of love Anton ridiculously, having chatted to him. And that's a vlog that I haven't put out this year. It's one that I've got to save, just in case next year, if there's a time I can't film for whatever reason. But yeah, he recommended this. I didn't love Heaven, so I wasn't sure about heading to this, but I have heard amazing things about this, so I'm hoping that I love this one more. Don't really know what it's about, but we'll obviously tell you more and read it. Then 2 books that I got with the intention of reading over Christmas, very much like tied up in tinsel, are The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen and The Fir Tree by him. And I just love these editions. They are just gorgeous and they have lovely illustrations throughout. So they're just that little bit extra special. So I will read these next Christmas. However, if I go to Copenhagen, I'm quite tempted to do like the whole Hans Christian Andersen tour and be a bit of a tourist around it. So maybe these would make perfect books to pack when I won't have that much baggage allowance. So there's a thought, there's a possibility. And last but not least, I have been meaning to get this. This was another book that I got from the West Coast Bookshop. I know, because it's got the bookmark in it. I have wanted to get this since Jen raved about it on her channel over at Jen Campbell I'm talking about. And yeah, I'm just intrigued by it. It's Anne New's Ghost Music. And she just sold it to me in such a... It just sounded like it was going to be quite quiet but magical, and that's something that I feel I would like just more in my life generally as well as in my reading life. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons. And also I know that if Jen loves a book, I'm probably going to love it, and she did, so there we are. So that is my last book haul for 2022, and indeed my last video for 2022. As I mentioned when I dangled that carrot earlier, please leave a carrot emoji in the comments below if there is one. I think there is one, there should be one. If not, leave a rabbit because they love a carrot. Anyway, I've just read a book that if you love rabbits, you're not going to want to read, but I'll be talking about that in my best books of 2022 video, which will probably be my next one. But I was going to say, yeah, I dangled that carrot. Mum and I are going to be doing prompts again next year, but instead of giving each other prompts to do, we're going to be asking for prompts from you. I've already asked on Instagram and I'm asking you here now, and I will put them all in a pot and we will pick 12 that we will do next year, and we'd love you to join in too. So that's something that I'm going to be doing. Like I said, my best books of 2022 video is probably going to be my next video on New Year's Day, and then we'll see what 2023 holds. I will leave you on the note of just saying I wish you a very, very, very happy new year. I hope 2023 is going to be full of not just brilliant books, but just brilliant times for everybody. I'm really excited about it. There's some new stuff on the horizon that I can't wait to tell you about, but I also still can't believe is real, and I can't believe I'm going to be doing, but more on that later in the new year. But I also just want to say thank you for all of your views, comments, chats, everything in 2022. I genuinely can't believe you all stick around. I can't believe, I don't know, I just can't believe it, but I'm very, very thrilled for it. And what's been really lovely is hearing recently that people feel like this is a place where they come and they're literally having a chat with someone, and that's really, really what I want this to be. If you haven't commented, but you've arrived here, well, recently, be it any time, do say hello. I mean, obviously don't forget your carrot and possibly your rabbit emoji. But it'd be lovely to say hello to you all. And yeah, I will see you all in 2023. Can't believe I'm saying that. Where has 2022 gone? I am quite glad it has gone. Anyway, or well, it's going because still a couple of days to go. I'm rambling. No change there. I will, see you all in 2023. And I've got to get better at saying this. If you like this, like it. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to, do. That would be lovely. And like I said, my Instagram, Patreon, Sky Arts Book Club Extra, Wishlist, all those things are linked down below. I would love to see you on other bits of social media. And I will, like I said, see you in 2023. Thanks again for watching and all your comments and chats this year. It's been wonderful. See you in the next one. Bye.